Welcome to Justice Now, and you've reached part 21 of workplace mobbing. For this particular feature, or video rather, I'm going to discuss about blocking other perceptions about how you handled yourself during the situation and after the situation. What I find is that in my experience, when I was going through the workplace mobbing, there was no one letting me know as to what was going on. Many kept silent. Those who watched and saw what was going on kept silent. And then, of course, the perpetrators and their supporters were doing the terrorizing. And what I noticed is that very, very interestingly is that if I spoke up about it without saying anybody's name, I would get the interesting response of, oh, well, you should do this, you should do that. And, you try to do those things, but again, eventually you'll realize that whatever remedies that you try will not work, because the whole point is to ensure that resolution is never met. The whole point is to ensure that there is no resolution and that there is only one thing that they're interested in, and that is to get you out, right? As a target, they want to ostracize you to the point of removing you from the work environment using terroristic means, and resulting in either you being fired or either you having to leave of your own accord. And really that decision is not really on your own, because you're trying to escape the terrorism. So it would be more constructive dismissal, if anything, that is occurring. It's just that it's harder to prove. So to go back to this, what usually happens after the fact is, you'll have several different people. When you tell them the situation, they'll, let you know, well, you should have stayed and fought, or you should have done this or that or this. And I'm going to encourage you to block that out. Unless it's from a lawyer, of course, who specializes in employment law, in which the information would be to your benefit in helping your case against the perpetrators at the company or organization you work for. But other than that, for people who do not have credentials in employment law regarding, and also for people who are passing judgment. Let me just clarify. There are people that can still provide their opinion, but if they're passing judgment where they're saying, well, you could have taken this approach, you could have taken that approach, as if, or they'll spin it and say, oh, well, if it was me, I would have, or if it was me, I could, that type of situation. Not, of course, when someone is providing advice, of course you'll take it. But for those who like to start with, well, if it was me, I would have, stayed and fought, or why didn't you stay and fight? Those ones I'm going to ask you to ignore. And the reason being is that those people who pass judgment in that way tend to talk a lot but not do. I'm pretty certain that in some point in their life they've gone through workplace harassment or workplace mobbing. and either or they've been a bystander and watched it happen. And usually one of three things usually occur with these types of people. Either they themselves didn't take a stand, or they themselves were the perpetrator, or they themselves were the bystanders. And you know what? I mean, each experience is unique. What you went through is unique. It's not the same. Like there's similarities in the types of tactics that are used, but it's not exactly the same. It's not predictable and cookie cutter to the point where you can say, yeah, well, if A occurs, then I will resolve it with B. It's not that type of situation. What I would mention to you is you've done the best that you could with the information you had at the time that you've had it, and to try not to beat yourself up over that. You're not gonna know everything, right? Like the whole purpose of the attacks that they're doing is to blindside you, right? The whole purpose of the attacks is to ensure that you can't figure it out, so you cannot solve it, right? So how are you expected to know, um, how to handle it if it's something that you're not used to? You're not them. You don't think like them. You don't act like them. Thank goodness. Just thank your lucky stars you're not them, because that would be really a miserable life in itself. But be easy on yourself, and applaud yourself for the best way that you can handle it for the time that you did. And avoid listening to the critique of, well, you should have done this or you could have done that, unless it's from a professional lawyer. Because people who pass judgments like that usually do not have, well, number one, their feedback is not constructive. But number two, if in the same position, they probably would do the same as you. Okay, so I hope that was clear. If not, let me know. And stay tuned for more videos.